This week in the Proving Ground, WotC gets an extra life. Pioneer don't need no Tron. Concert event with no music. And Dave dives into Modern. Welcome to Magic Proving Grounds, the only Magic the Gathering podcast that proves Sandra cosplay is better with aromatherapy. I'm your host, Moderator Dave. I also moderate this here podcast with the other hosts, Ben.
Hello.
And other Dave.
That's me.
So when you have a Chandra cosplay, do you go with fire and brimstone smell, or you're like more of like a lavender and cucumber melon? Something like that?
I don't know. I'll tell you what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't do sulfur because I don't want to walk around smelling like egg farts.
That's true.
It's really smart. Say it's probably like a campfire s'mores scent.
There you go. There you go.
That's it. Got it. So what have you guys been doing this week?
We tried out the Modern on MTGO here. That was pretty cool.
That was fun, yeah.
We can get into that more.
Feel any better with the new changes?
It feels exactly the same.
Well, that's disappointing. I'm glad I didn't reinstall
it. But you should.
But I'm not.
Okay, that's fair. So what are you up to, other Dave?
I mean, unless they make improvements to that, I will probably never play it again. Unless they're just giving out like thousands of free cards or something, and maybe I'll sign in just to get the free cards and then uninstall it again in case I ever need to use that account in the future.
So you've definitely 100% bought into the arena.
It just runs so much better. Like even minus, like I don't need the graphical improvements. I would be fine graphically with MTGO. It feels so clunky to play it.
Yeah, it does.
We'll continue this discussion later, though, because we have a whole little bit of that.
We just never go naturally into a conversation.
No, we never do.
You and your rigid structure, Moderator Dave.
You got to have the structure, man. I mean, sorry.
I guess in terms of what I did this week, other than not installing TGO, I mostly just played the Post Malone event.
Yeah. Let's talk about that right now, because I played the Post Malone event too.
Now we can get rid of the rigid structure that you want to talk about something?
Well, I'm trying to throw you a bone.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to be nice and be like, well, this is close enough in my notes to where we can talk about it now. Just move stuff around a little bit.
So what deck did you play in the Post Malone event?
Well, I started out with the blue-red one, obviously, and then determined that one blows hard. So I got like half my wins in that, and it was a burdensome wins. And then I switched to the mono green one and got the rest of them fairly easily.
Mm-hmm. I played a little bit of all of them. I found the red-white one to be the most fun. Not necessarily the one that was going to win the most, but I had the most fun playing that one. And then obviously the mono green deck seemed to be where everyone kind of ended up in terms of getting their wins.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love playing the blue and red ones. Probably why I stuck with it for far too long. But it was very underpowered as compared to everyone else's. You had to have like the exact line in your opening hand or you weren't going to win in this situation. Tell me this, how annoying was the very bright UI for the majority of that event on the main splash page? Was that on purpose, do you think, or is that a bug?
I assume that has to be a bug, like that whole just straight white one.
Yeah.
I assume that has to be some kind of graphical error where they forgot to put a background image in somewhere or something.
Because, oh my goodness, it was a lot.
Yeah, like there's no way they intended for the background to be just a mono white background.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I know they've been trying to push white recently, but not that hard.
You're going to sear it into your eyes. Yeah. So it's fun whenever they do brawl events, I think, because it's an interesting format. It's fun to play, but it's also kind of I know somebody's going to argue with me, but I feel like it's kind of hard to get into because you have so much to account for, especially if you're not used to doing singleton formats.
Yeah.
So whenever they just give you a deck and let you run with it, I think it works out and a lot of people have fun.
Yeah, I actually prefer events where they give us decks. Not even necessarily Brawl, but really any one of the events where they give us a deck or the limited type things to constructed ones, because it's always like the constructed ones. It's like, I would love to participate in this, but I also don't want to burn my wild cards to make a deck for this event that's only going to be here for one time out of the next year.
Mm-hmm.
As fun as it would be, because I'm always like, oh, that event sounds cool, but the thought of using my wild cards to make a deck to participate in it always ruins that for me. So whenever they provide me with stuff, I'm always like, okay, this is much preferred to here's a challenge to just use cards in this block. And I'm like, I've never made a deck like that, and I will never play that deck again. Yeah. So even if it's fun, even if it sounds fun to participate in, I can't use wild cards like that.
Yeah, I agree. Whether or not they provide a deck or I have one drastically increases the likelihood that I'm going to participate in the event, except for, was it the midweek Magic last week I didn't do, which was Explorer. I've been kind of burnt out on Explorer recently. I think I need to redo my deck a little bit. It's not winning as much as I'd like it to.
Also, I like when they do the, I forget what they call it now, but the ones where you can use any card you want to. Mm-hmm. But you don't get to keep the card.
Yeah, those are nice because you can just pull a deck off the internet and run with it.
Well, or, you can have fun. Like, that to me is the time that I'm like, all right, I'm going to start tooling out a deck. I'm like, because then I can play test in a live environment without having to expend wild cards. And so those are always like my opportunities to be like, all right, I want to try the deck built like this, or I want to take these cards out and put this card in, or I want to see how this card works.
Look at you being a brewer instead of a lazy butt like me. It's just like, time to try the net deck I've been dreaming about.
Yeah.
Excellent. So aside from I feel like it's really disappointing that this concert event that they pitched it at did not have any Post Malone music in it.
Right. There should be Post Malone music playing the entire time we're in the match.
Exactly. It's I don't know. I guess Fortnite has set a certain expectation for what I envision a concert event to be, because they actually have concert events that play music.
Yeah, Ariana Grande.
Yeah, and then the
Travis something.
Yeah.
And even during the Dragon Ball event, they had whole episodes of Dragon Ball Z playing. You could go and watch them. It's weird, but I mean, it shows that they are trying to promote their people that are supporting them. They let the Ariana Grande come in here. They didn't just give a skin; they're also promoting her music too. Yep. And it'd be nice to have seen that on.
I mean, we don't even need a whole ass live concert like Fortnite does. Just play some Post Malone music in the background music instead of the other stuff that you play.
And I might actually know a Post Malone song if they had done that. I might, some Post Malone songs. I have not ever heard a Post Malone song.
You're a liar.
Have you seen Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah.
That song that Miles Morales sings during the entire thing, that's a Post Malone song.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm saying you've heard you may not know the name associated with the song, but there's a 0% chance you have not heard a Post Malone song.
Yes.
I suppose that's fair. But yeah, I don't know who really he is.
Like saying you never heard a Post Malone song at this point, it's like saying you never heard a Taylor Swift song.
Oh, but I know who Taylor Swift is. I know that I've heard her song.
Well, you know who Post Malone is too. You've been talking about him for the last 3 weeks.
Well, I know who he is. I've just never heard the songs.
No.
You have heard the songs. You
Okay.
just don't know they're his.
There you go.
Don't know you heard the songs.
Yeah, it's just like you ask kids nowadays if they know who the Beatles are, and they're like, no. And then you're like, what about that one song? Like, oh, that's the Beatles? Yeah, it's the Beatles. Kind of like that. Except opposite. I'm old and they're young.
Yes.
Tell me you don't know who Post Malone is.
You don't know
Got
who
it.
Post is. Yeah, so that was fun. I enjoyed it. I'm glad that they do those kind of things from time to time. More music next concert event, though.
Yeah, instead of just they claim those decks were musically themed.
Yeah.
I don't that mono green deck. How is it musically themed? Other than that, your Brawl Commander is playing a lute.
Hey, that Brawl Commander was pretty all right. I liked venturing into the dungeon repeatedly for.
Is it Eliwick?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Planeswalker. For dungeon adventuring. For however powerful that mechanic actually is, it's still kind of fun.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So let's cover basically the only piece of news that came out of note, I guess, this week, which was the weekly MTG stream. Went over a bunch of stuff that we're going to touch on a little bit. Guys ready for this?
Yeah.
I need some more enthusiasm. Like,
I didn't watch it, so you'll have to explain it to me.
No, it's fine. I guess we mentioned this earlier a little bit, kind of hinted at it. The Sandra Gauntlet available from Hasbro.
Yes.
They announced that. It's neat.
It's so goofy. It's cool. But
it's goofy. You were the one that suggested putting aromatherapy in the water reservoirs so that you can cultivate a smell.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. But what I am most interested to see is how long it takes some crazy on the internet to modify it to shoot fire.
Yeah.
Because that's going to happen.
Get some gasoline up in the chamber.
A little propane action going. We'll be shooting some flames.
Yeah. I can see that. So the price point on that is $300?
Yes, that's a bit much.
It's a piece of plastic with a diffuser in it. I don't know.
It's like little smoke.
I mean, I'm sure that thing took a while to. It looks like it has some intricacies to it.
It does.
It's not like they just duct taped a diffuser onto a wristband. Yeah, there it is.
So the actual issue is that they created molds for this thing, and they probably don't expect to sell too many of them. So that's why the price point is so high. But
definitely a collector piece, or maybe somebody who's looking to shortcut their cosplay, or the people I assume would be interested in this particular piece.
Dave, are you picking one up for your Chandra cosplay?
I want to, but I'm mega poors. I can't afford it. I have to make.
You're gonna have to do your Chandra cosplay on the cheap.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those.
How are you gonna cover up your man BO without the diffuser? You're gonna tape one?
He's gonna tape a diffuser to his wrist. That's fun.
There you go.
Yeah, man, it's okay. I know a guy whose wife sells doTERRA, and I'll just
there you go.
Got it.
Spread some on.
Yep. It's okay, man. I get it. I got it.
You can make it so that when you close your fist, you squeeze a button that just squirts some mist. You know,
just tape. Squeeze bottle, squirt bottles.
Trigger on your
Windex bottles filled with smell. Squeeze them. It's the next best thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Low effort cosplay on the cheap.
Hey, man.
Whatever works. Cosplay, you live the life you want to live. So next up is, I think this is worth mentioning and probably pretty cool that Wizards does this every year, but they partner with Extra Life, the charity, and raise a bunch of money through various projects that they do for the Seattle Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
Specifically the autism clinic that's there.
Mm-hmm.
So they talked a lot about that. They mentioned the Extra Life Secret Lair, which I think is pretty cool. And it features, what they showed was 3 different cards, right?
Yeah.
And then you get 2 copies of each card. One copy is art and flavor text designed by a kid who's a client or patient of the clinic there, the autism clinic. It's got the art that they drew, and then they wrote the flavor text, and they are pretty cool. And then the copy of the card is a magic artist reinterpretation of the art that was originally drawn by the kids.
Oh, nice.
And then with the same flavor text. And so,
yeah, that's neat. So, yeah, you have some, like the Birds of Paradise drawing is really cute by the kid. And then the Wizards artist hired by Wizards then turns that into traditional looking Magic the Gathering art. Instead of coloring book. That's great. That's so cool.
The flavor text on the Birds of Paradise one about the everything berry, I think is just hella cute, and I love it so much. I can't think of it off the top of my head, and I don't think I pulled up the link, but it's like the Birds of Paradise eat the everything berry. It tastes different every time, and then something about it being a surprise.
Yeah.
I will look.
Yeah, it says it leaves the surprise.
Yeah.
Or it loves the surprise.
It loves the surprise, yeah. It's just so cool, and I love it.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. And then there's one of a dragon that's like, when you see her, you'll go, ah! And I'm like,
oh, yeah.
Fact.
Super cool.
The art is really great from both versions and stuff, and everybody should at least check it out. So, also, if you're interested in helping Wizards raise money, just check out the weekly stream that we'll link. And there's a lot of ways that they're going about raising money with streams and stuff. So we won't go into a lot of detail here because it's a lot. So just watch the stream.
Extra Life is a great foundation. It's a great charity.
It is a great charity. A lot of respect. Okay, now I've got some bad news to come out of the stream.
Okay.
If you're me and made a certain prediction, was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago? They just came out and said, look, we don't typically talk about rumors on the weekly streams, but I feel that it's imperative that we address this right now. Urzaland's not going to be in Brothers War.
That sucks.
Oh, man, my heart sunk. I was like, I hate being wrong.
I get it. I mean, assembling Tron in Pioneer might be something they want to try to avoid.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, even if they do eventually reprint it, I don't see it fitting into what they're currently doing in Standard anyway. So
Right. Yeah, and that was the opportunity. They're going back in time, story-wise, where Urza's still there. So it would make sense for them to have Tron lands.
Yeah, it's just so much of what we've seen already from that set is not colorless. I feel like if they bring back the Tron sets, it's going to have to be a heavily colorless focused set.
Right. And you know how they've been doing the colored mana artifacts now.
Yeah.
And that's their way of curbing brokenness. So to print Tron would make it so that they are kind of forced to do colorless, which then leads to brokenness. And they probably don't want to cross that bridge.
I'm going to guess with this revelation that it's probably unlikely we'll ever see the Tron lands enter Pioneer through Standard.
Correct. You have to wait for the Pioneer Horizons. So
which they'll start doing here in a little bit, I'm sure.
Yeah, give it 5 years.
I'm sure one is coming sooner than later.
Yeah, there's always money in the horizons. Final little bit of news. It's light news week. Spoilers for Brothers War start on the 27th during Magic 30.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked.
I'm really excited for this set.
I really am too. This is probably my favorite bit of the Magic story. So to see a actual set dedicated to telling the story and focusing on it.
Yeah, because even back in Antiquities, they didn't really focus. They didn't really have a story exactly in the same way that they did.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting way to tell a story through cards and through like the lens of archaeologists digging up the stuff that happened in the past and then kind of like guessing like archaeologists do, or like, coming up with what happened by piecing the artifacts and stuff together. But this is it's happening here and now.
Yeah.
Point of view of the stories.
Then and now.
Then and now, yeah. It's happening in the present past.
Teferi time traveling, so it's a little odd, but yes.
So, yeah.
It's cool. I'm interested.
I'm interested. They've also been releasing the chapters ahead of the spoilers. So I assume since last with Dominaria United, they had everything released before they started popping off the spoilers, that we'll have the rest of the whole story before the 27th. So
yeah,
kind of interested to sit down and read that when I've got the time. You had mentioned other Dave that they had started putting out when it did. Have you had a chance to read any of it?
So, yeah, I read the first chapter. I haven't read the second.
So just no spoilers. Good? Bad?
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little nervous. It could go either way. It could be really good, or they could start trying to like retcon stuff to make Urza not so bad, which would make me a little frustrated.
I will say this. They definitely portray Urza as a two-sided man, both bad and good.
Good. Because that's what makes the story great.
The story largely focuses around two people, one of which or at least in the beginning of the story, I guess towards the end of the story, there's another person involved. But the people that are involved in the story largely all view Urza a different way.
Oh, that's a great framing device. I think I'm going to like that.
Because I forget her name now. His wife, Kayla, it's his apprentice who lost himself in the coffin.
Yeah, Tanos.
And the leader of the Tal group, the Worshippers of the Sun. And so each person kind of views Urza in a different way.
And that's what made Urza a good character, I think, is that he was controversial. He wasn't just the stellar, like strapling, I'm going to be a hero and take out the bad dudes. He had nuance.
Yeah, he had a lot of nuance.
He gave off like communist dictator vibes, or whatever.
Yeah.
But he was also
very authoritarian.
Pushing the thing to kill all the Phyrexians too. So without him, It's
a interesting dude. Anyways.
See, guys, this is way better than walking.
Yeah, riding merchant style. I can totally get used to this. Luxury travel.
It would have been nice to know your merchant friend was a trash merchant. Might have taken my chance and stayed in town.
You know what they say, Walter? One man's trash is a goblin's treasure.
I wish goblin's treasure didn't have a smell.
Yeah. That's the smell of profit, Walter. I think I found my calling in life. Trash merchant.
I'm pretty sure that smell is just trash, Mel.
Look, we've been traveling for 3 days, and you haven't said anything nice. My friend was kind enough to let us ride one of his wagons free of charge. The least you could do is appreciate that.
Okay. I will admit that this may be slightly better than walking.
Where is the raccoon and his friends?
What's a raccoon?
It's the creature that is about 3 foot tall and come from the plain of Capenna.
Oh God!
Loudly
Please,
smacks Goblin.
please don't hurt me. I'll tell you whatever you want. Just let me free. Just one problem. What's a capenna?
Sigh. It doesn't matter. The raccoon is hairy, has a bushy tail, and is traveling with a goblin and an elf.
Oh, you mean Mo? He's a nice goblin, little Harry. Me and my buddies think because he's that way because he's cursed.
Exasperation. Enough. Where are they?
They're in the wagon car, third from the back. Are you gonna free me now?
Yes, you will be free. Choking death noises.
Guys, did you hear all of that?
Yeah, it sounds like a robot.
We need to run.
I can't believe the boss found us.
Quick, if we run into the woods, maybe we can sneak away by cover of night.
Good idea.
Yeah, let's go.
No. They're not here. God.
Moving on to our big discussion of the episode is MTGO and what me and Ben have been doing on it recently since the move over to Daybreak.
Yeah. So, have you ever played Modern before, Moderator Dave?
Not really. I began working back when Mox Opal was not banned to put together a affinity deck.
Oh, right.
And then that was my goal was to put it together and then start Modern. And then what is it? Ink Moth Nexuses are really expensive. So
yeah, they are.
Kind of hit the Mox Opals were like $90 at the time. The Ink Moth Nexuses were out of control, and I kind of just hit a roadblock because it's a lot of money for cardboard. I never finished it, but it's a lot cheaper to play on Magic Arena, Magic Online.
I was going to say, okay. Yeah, it is cheaper to play on Arena. Well, it can be up to free. Yeah, so we got on MTGO and played a couple decks against each other. Like we said earlier, the client hasn't made any updates yet, but they're supposed to be coming. I did find it cumbersome because the whole scope was like, hey, I play this deck in paper. Let's have you play this deck, and then I'll kind of like give you tips on how to play it and things like that, right?
Yeah, doing some meta training, if you will.
Yes. And we went to time because there's no way to shut off the timer when you're just playing a casual game, and we didn't get to finish. So yeah, it is very cumbersome with the clicks, and also you got to learn the client. It's not something that's intuitive like Arena.
Yeah,
you got to know when pass priority. I set your yield stops, all that stuff.
Just trading stuff back and forth is really frustrating. It's got a real like early 90s RPG aesthetic to the trading system that does not need to be there.
Yeah. And then also manipulating the stack is kind of confusing. I think you had countered a Cascade spell at some point, but it still had the Cascade trigger. Or I countered a Cascade trigger or whatever. I didn't counter the spell that the Cascade got. I countered this Cascade spell, which then still had the trigger on the stack. It's just a weird, like in paper, that stuff would never happen because you'd just be like, okay, I'm going to counter that spell, and we all understood. But
yeah, it forces you to play like very precisely because there's no you talking with the person you're playing against in order to, this is what I want to do. And they're like, okay, let's do that. It's always like, you tell me what you want and I'll react accordingly. So
right. And in some ways it's more difficult, but it helps you understand the stack better as you get more into it, that you can then use in paper to manipulate things.
Yeah. I definitely like how it it forces you to do everything by the numbers. I just wish it did it more fluidly.
Yeah. Or like sometimes by the numbers you could choose to bypass more, or did it automatically? Mm-hmm. Like tapping your mana when you have 3 mana and it's like pay 3 and you're like, I only have 3. You should just pay it for me, right? I don't know.
Stuff that Arena does, fairly well.
So you played the Living End deck.
That's correct.
And I was trying out Rhinos against the Living deck. They're both Cascade decks, so I kind of thought I can show you with my cards kind of what you're doing with your cards kind of thing at the same time. What did you think about the deck? Just first impressions.
I liked it. I think that as far as ease of play and stuff, it's a pretty straightforward deck to learn how to do.
Yeah, your singular focus is making sure your Living End doesn't get countered. Other than that, you're just cycling.
Yeah, you're making sure like the key points that you have to do is cycle stuff in the graveyard. Make sure you have enough stuff in the graveyard to make going off worth it. Yeah. And then, watching your mana so that you can cycle things on curve and stuff. Because I think there was a couple times in the match where I put down the wrong land and then had to wait to cycle when I could have cycled a turn earlier. And then another scenario where I had tapped the land the wrong way and then couldn't cast Violent Outburst when I wanted to.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Turn, so...
Yeah.
Those I think are the key points to look out for in that particular deck is mana and just making sure you have stuff in your graveyard.
Yeah.
Make cascading into Living End go make it worth it.
Yeah, so you throw all your creatures in the graveyard, 5/5, 7/7s, 3/3s, order your opponent's library, the top 3 cards, so that you can protect yourself after the spell. Then, so those are on the graveyard, and you cast Living End, which replaces, essentially, it's a little trickier than this, but it replaces what's on the board with what's in everybody's graveyards. So essentially, it doesn't matter what the opponent puts out in the first 3 or 4 turns, as long as you're not dead. And I think even one game, you got me down to 1 life or something, and then you stabilized.
I was down to 1 life, and then you got me down to 1 life, and then I was able to cast Living End and win that turn. So
so it can be pretty powerful. I think.
Yeah,
it's a neat deck.
Yeah, it's a very cool deck. I enjoyed going over that. I think testing it against other decks will be fun as well. So.
Think about maybe doing something like is it Murktide against that deck? It's kind of like. Is it Murktide in Modern? It's kind of like the pivot point. It's like, this is the most, like, it's not straightforward. It's just a really good deck that you can I found that you can test things against. If it can beat Murktide, then it's doing pretty good. If it almost beats Murktide, then it's still maybe as good. But yeah, there's things like blue-white control and things like that might have problems with certain matchups. But I think Murktide's a good, like, litmus test for the format. It is still the most popular deck in Modern. I don't think it's the best deck, but it's popular.
Definitely a tier 1 deck, though, you would say?
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. I also might look at Indomitable Creativity because that can give Living End problems, but that might be a later lesson.
Yeah, totally. So we streamed this on Friday, and we're planning on streaming some more. So why don't you give everybody a breakdown of the whole idea behind the stream in general, and then when we'll be streaming.
So yeah, the idea is that we would stream the deck testing Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we'll try to run a league on Fridays is the idea if we feel ready with the decks.
Yeah. The idea being that in this particular cycle, Living End would be the deck that we're testing. Yeah. Against other decks in the meta. So that would be the A deck, and then all the other decks are B decks. And then when we feel like we've tested the A deck well enough, we will stream a league on Friday. So eventually I'll be streaming the Living End deck in a league.
Yeah, and if not
on a Friday.
Yeah, if not, then I can probably do a league with another deck on Friday if we're not ready with the Living End deck.
Yep.
By the time it comes. That'd be the idea.
the idea would be there's a league on Friday, and then hopefully it's the one we've been working on. Streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays, deck testing at 1 p.m.
Yep.
And then that's 1 p.m. Eastern time. And then 1 p.m. on Friday, a league.
Yep. And then at the Magic Proving Grounds Twitch.
Yep. Link to it in the show notes. So come like us, check us out. Should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a short episode. So let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. Tell them where they can find us, Ben.
You can find us on Twitter at MPGPod. You can find me on our personal Twitter, my personal Twitter, at BeNiceMPG. Where can they find you, Moderator Dave?
Everyone can find me on Twitter at Dave_MPG. Find us on Twitch at Magic Proving Grounds. And where are you located? You get off your boat yet, other Dave?
I did. I got off my boat in Iceland.
What?
What? Did you just circumnavigate the globe somehow there, buddy?
Pulling a Magellan over here.
I guess so, yeah. There was a big storm. We know where we were at. We landed. Turns out it's Iceland.
You found the Northwest Passage. Nice.
Heck yeah. So how's the weather?
It's fine. Actually, pretty nice.
Yeah. Oh, Iceland's the one that's not icy, right? That's great.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
Somebody was trying to trick people into moving to Greenland and keep people away from Iceland.
Yeah, probably. Cool. So no Magic 30 then, right? I guess.
It's not looking like it.
Not looking good. Not looking.
Maybe you can catch an airplane or
that's my hope.
A wizard, or maybe
maybe Chandra will show up with her.
Yeah, with her
Aromatherapy
Gauntlet.
I don't say Aromatherapy Gauntlet.
There you go.
Yeah.
That'll get you anywhere you want to go. Put the right stuff in it.
So, any volcanic activity in Iceland at the moment?
I don't know. I hope not.
Isn't there always volcanic activity, but it's just not dangerous?
Yeah. I mean, it's Iceland.
Yeah.
They do this thing there, if you're going to be there a couple of days before you try to ship out, where they bake bread in a volcanic crater. They put in a pot and then they bury it and then they let it bake and then they dig it up and it's supposed to be really good.
Check that out.
So if you need to eat, there's an oven in the ground for you.
Yeah.
Just bury some yeast and I'll be fine.
Yes. Yeah. That's how it works.
Bury some grub and dig it up a couple hours later. It might be good. All right. Well, I hope you make it to Magic 30. You're our on the scene reporter there. So maybe you can, like I said, get a plane ride. Yeah, maybe.
Just don't get immediately air-hearted.
Yeah.
On the way.
Stay out of the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Stay away from there.
That's the show.
See you next week. Gargling some balls.
Maybe that's how they complete people, man.
There you go.
Not Phyrexian.
All right.